Hey, welcome back to another NOTCAST. I think it's the hottest day of the year. I think it's 27 degrees. God knows what that is in Fahrenheit. Although 92 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature at which most murders are committed. So the hotter it is, the more chance there is of being murdered until it becomes too hot and everybody sits on the couch and going, man, I can't even murder anyone. It's too hot. So it's about 77, 78 maybe. So we're still, relatively safe. But there you are. It is Tuesday, the 24th, I think, of June, 2024. And I wanted to do a NotCast probably because a football match is on. And me and football got divorced at a very early age. I broke my ankle first week of the summer holidays, 1986 or so. So I spent the weeks of the summer holidays sitting at home discovering rock music and girls, and where did it all go wrong, eh? Well, I am also, of course, wearing a football top today, but this isn't a football top in your regular form. It is one for the Twilight Sad, one of my very favourite bands in the absolute universe. This one, I think some money from this went to the Tiny Changes charity for Scott from Frightened Rabbit. And I looked at it the other day and I thought, I haven't worn this for ages. Maybe I should wear it. Possibly the hottest day of the year is not the day to wear it, but here I am wearing my Adidas. So there you go. You can't get this one anymore. Bands FC don't sell anything, which is such a shame at the moment. But I also looked at the merch for a band called Party Cannon the other day, and they don't sell anything. And I was like, I quite fancy a Party Cannon t-shirt. You know, they're up there with the Oakley Doakleys and the Arno Corps as great bands that are better in theory than in execution, I suppose. But that's not why I'm here. Normally I'd do 50 minutes talking about a band that I love and something like that and do a chronological run through their albums or whatever. Not doing that today. Too hot. So it is random record Russian roulette. Although, of course, maybe I should find a way of going it unusual Ukraine something or other. I don't know. Well, anyway, in this bag, I should be a CD, a DVD, a 7-inch, a 12-inch, and a book. So let's find out what they are, because I don't quite know what they are, although I accidentally found out when I looked. This is the DVD. You're going to have a much better idea about it than I am. Okay, The Departed by the Martin Scorsese. Saw this in the cinema. Didn't know this one was coming. Martin Scorsese makes very manly films, doesn't he? And if they're trying to find a common thread that goes through all of them, there's always something about ideas and belief and identity that sits through all of them. Going from I think he did Passion of the Christ. No, he didn't. He didn't, did he? He did Colour of Money in 1986, but he did that the film in 2017 with the Spider-Man in and Adam Driver, which was on Netflix. The Irishman, The Departed, Goodfellas, Casino. Lots of films with Robert De Niro. Lots of films about gangsters, lots of films about law enforcement and structures of authority, going all the way back to things like Taxi Driver, New York, King of Comedy, Raging Bull. I think he did After Hours as well, actually, which I really rate. Anyway, he's got a really interesting filmography, and from memory, he doesn't have anything that stands out as a craven attempt to do a kiddie film like Francis Ford Coppola's Jack. So, The Departed, quite good. Saw it at the cinema, really interested with it. I think it's got some really interesting ideas about identity and the gap between who you think you are and who you really are, and who you present yourself to be to other people, and who you are. And it's got some lovely quotable dialogue in it. Not so sure about having Mark Wahlberg in it. I think he's overrated as an actor. He thinks I'm overrated as a YouTuber, so I guess we're quits in that respect. This has one of my very favourite death scenes in. I won't tell you the character, but if you've seen the film, you'll know. Is that they're driving a car away from an ambush, and the car crashes, and the guy gets his gun and goes, fuck it, and blows his brains out because he's trapped inside a car that's on fire, and it's going to be a safer way of living, or more correctly dying, than burning to death trapped inside a car chased by people that want to shoot him. Funny, made it laugh, made me laugh, hopefully not the way I'm going to go out. At all. Sorry about that. Long day, quite tired. I don't sleep very well when it's staggeringly warm. The other thing I will say about The Departed, and this is really, really interesting if you don't know it, is that if you look in the background and there's an X in the background, if there's a cross line symbol in the background, and bearing in mind the X symbol is what people sometimes draw on other people's eyes to make out that they're dead, especially in cartoons and comic books. If there's an X that's in the background of The Departed, it normally means some character is about to put it technically, bite it, or perhaps untechnically, to die, or as party canon said, I prefer the term living impaired. So there you are. That's The Departed. I rate this film. It is a bit of a dick fest. Going to be honest about it. A bit of a sausage fest, but that's okay. One of the things I've noticed in a number of Scorsese's films is that women tend to be sidelined a bit in the narrative, and that is a shame. The only one I can immediately think of where they aren't is Raging Bull. In Taxi Driver, obviously the female is fetishized. In New York, New York, I think it's a musical, and I haven't seen that for a very long time. In Raging Bull, apparently when Raging Bull was out and Jake LaMotta saw the film, he said, "Was I really that bad?" And somebody who was with him went, "You were worse," which is a pretty shocking state of affairs. But no, Departed by Martin Scorsese, rate that. Let's see what else we've got in the bag of goodies, or not goodies, depending on your point of view. This feels like a Blu-ray. Oh, Interstellar by Sir Christopher Nolan. Like a lot of Chris Nolan films, he's big on ideas. And from a practical perspective, sometimes I kind of watch his films and go, I pull at the thread of reality. And that isn't me trying to nitpick, that's me buying into the verisimilitude of the creative world. Now, I think in creativity, one of the things that's really, really important is whatever happens, you have to follow the internal logic that's presented in it. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to follow it. So, for example, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, where R2-D2 suddenly gets jetpacks in his legs and flies off, solves a problem, and then all of a sudden someone goes, George, why doesn't he do it in the other films? Where it'd be really useful to actually fly off R2-D2 with his jetpack legs, and the answer is, well, they broke or they stopped working. And I'm kind of going, bullshit. I don't necessarily agree with it. The thing I find perhaps hardest about Interstellar is the lack of internal consistency in some elements of the logic of it when I watch it. Now, it has some fabulous moments. I love, by the way, there's a character called Tar in this that has a sarcasmometer. I think that's really good. I really like that. I think Matthew McConaughey, does a really good job in it. It's got some fascinating and unusual imagery in there. The visual depiction of the black hole is, according to Sir Brian Cox, the most accurate depiction of a black hole on screen, which is good. I saw Brian Cox give a lecture one morning at a conference in Leicester, or as Americans might call it, Leicester, in 2019, and he was asked, what is the most realistic depiction of a black hole on screen? And obviously, whilst we haven't been to a black hole, at least no one who's been has lived that we know of, and the film by Disney, The Black Hole, is unrealistic, to put it politely. He did say Interstellar had the best cinematic depiction of a black hole on screen. So, worth your time? Yeah, absolutely it is. Not his best movie, certainly not his worst. I think his worst is probably, a war film. I'm not hugely interested in those. What else have we got here? A bit of paper. Oh, that's a receipt, so I can't use that one. We've got a book, and I've just accidentally seen it. So here we go. Tori Amos, Resistance. A songwriter's story of hope, change, and courage. Unlike my pile of unread books, and there is a Japanese word, by the way, for the pile of unread books, I have read this, and I'm slowly making my way through every book that I own, trying to read them all in the summer. So often what I do, and I did it today, is I sit out in the garden with a record player in the shade with a nice cold drink and a book. In daytime, it's with a laptop and I work. In the evening, it's with a book. And one of the books which I read this last summer, I think, Resistance. And I think Tori Amos is really, really interesting as an artist. I think that she perhaps suffered unfairly from comparisons to a certain Miss Kate Bush, or Mrs. Kate Bush, to start off with in her career. But she carved out a niche of her own, and whilst it might not be one that troubles the charts too much, it doesn't have to be. as long as you're able to work and have financial independence and creative control, you can work at a level and an altitude that works for you. And if you're an artist, you're able to have, a reasonable quality of life, able to sustain your life financially and create art and dedicate your life to the art that you make, then that's probably the best outcome, no matter what size of scale that you're at, whether you're in a suburban house in a mid-selling band, or whether you have a mansion in Cornwall and you sell out arenas. Whatever is your thing, that's what matters. This is an absolutely fascinating book, talking about her life and lots of parts of it from perhaps a very different perspective than you might expect, alongside choice lyrics and songs and how those feed into her interpretation of her life story. Now, there's a couple of really interesting sections in this, and since I'm working on the grounds that you probably won't watch or read this, you may have thought, well, what happened in her career in 1996 that Boys for Pele kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth after Under the Pink and Little Earthquakes? Well, she had a miscarriage and she wanted to take some time off because she'd had a miscarriage, and the record label boss decided that wasn't acceptable and decided to deliberately spike and kill the album and promotion for it to teach her a lesson so she should get back on the road and promote her album. And honestly, where's the fucking humanity in that? That's a disgraceful way to behave, and that is short-term gain and punishment in a petty, ego-driven fashion by a pale, stale male, which has absolutely no empathy, humility, or kindness in it. And kindness will always win the day. So Resistance, really interesting, and I really am a huge fan of Tori Amos. I find one of the things about her work, and this is something where I don't want to sound too bitchy, is with the rise of the CD format, we have a thing that's called the Tori Amos effect, or at least I regard it as the Tori Amos effect, which is that you stuff a 48-minute album into a 76-minute CD, and sometimes you need to strip away the bits that don't look like the album. And some of Tori's albums have suffered from that, and I've struggled with some of them, particularly Boys for Pele, actually, was the one where I thought there's more songs in this album than there needs to be, and possibly The Beekeeper as well. So if you're interested in me talking about Tori Amos, do let me know. I'm not sure if I can do it, but I will do. Right, here's the LP. This is an unofficial release. This is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon live 1994 over London. So this is taken from the soundtrack to the 1994 pay-per-view broadcast, has sold through VHS Pulse. According to some people, Pulse stands for Pretty Uninspiring Light Show Experience, which is pretty harsh, but there you are. This is Dark Side of the Moon, performed live by the 1994 iteration of Pink Floyd, which is David, Rick and Nick, alongside Guy Pratt, John Carrin, Tim Renwick, Gary Wallace and Dick Parry, and some backing vocalists. I'm going to talk about this one more when I get to 1994's version of Pink Floyd. This is an unofficial release which I picked up for £10 because it was an overstock at a record fair, just crates and crates of vinyl which hasn't yet or was overproduced, and this was one of them. This cover photo is a photo, I think, from the top of a park, possibly Regent's Park, maybe Primrose Hill in London, with the Pink Floyd Prism there, and this was used for promotion, this photograph, for the promotion for the 2003 reissue of the album to time with its 30th anniversary. As a live performance, it's pretty good, it's fair, it's very faithful to the LP. Glad that I've got it. Not an absolutely essential piece of music for me to own. Right, with luck, I have a 7-inch and I have a CD. Okay, I've got a CD. Ooh, New Model Armies, No Rest for the Wicked. So this is a CD which I didn't buy. This is a CD that when one of my friends died unexpectedly about 12 years ago, his friends Damien and I think Teresa were tasked with going through his stuff, and Damien used to comment on my blog, actually. So we'd known each other in the early days of the 90s, and we'd met at various gigs and things, and then he commented on my blog because after a period of time when I stopped following bands around, I stopped seeing the people that used to go and see bands, and they stopped going to see bands as well. And then that meant that people that I'd known for years, who I kind of knew by various surnames and stuff, or fake names, I didn't really know, oh, you live somewhere, and your real name is, and then, you know, before Facebook, unless you had an email address or a phone number, and you know, you just didn't see it. So it was really good to reconnect with them, and to reconnect with the people that we saw on tour. And the strange thing is, I'm really annoyed about this. I can't remember his name. He was about 6'11", tall, lovely man. I thought the world of him, but I never saw him when I was drunk. And I remember I was a huge fan of Judge Dredd. Chris, I think Chris, and his surname was unusual and long. And I thought he was brilliant, but I was drunk, and he died unexpectedly at short notice. And then there was a period when, you know, the people that were friends of him, his possessions were kind of divided up amongst them, and all you really had to do was to go, well, this is why I quite like them. I know that he loved the army, and I didn't have many army CDs at that point, so I said I really like the army CDs, and I passed a donation over to charity, and I got pretty much all of my early New Model Army CDs from somebody that absolutely loved them, and they've gone to a lovely home, i.e. me. I listen to them regularly. Not such a fan these days, but obviously for its time and its place, you know, strong memories of them. Saw them a number of times way back when as well. No Rest for the Wicked is the first. I'm not really sure. Maybe the second. Got some good songs on. I prefer Thunder and Consolation and Love of Hopeless Causes. And, well, what was the other one? I'm terrible with their album names. Impurity, I think. Really like that period of the band. This one was a little bit sharper for me, but really glad that I had them, and I'm giving them a good loving home. So obviously I'd rather have my friend than the CDs, but you can't have that, so you have this. And then this is the last selection, the 7-inch, the Time Lords, Doctor in the TARDIS, the #1 single by the K, the L and the F. So today's fun facts about this is a #1 single. There was no video for this single. When it got up into the charts, they hastily had to put together a video for it. Went to a deserted car park, dressed up in fake dustbins and stuff, drove around pretending to be Daleks, filmed some footage of the car driving around the countryside. This car here to serve and protect. There is some dispute about where is Ford Time Lord and who the original Ford Time Lord is. I do believe the original Ford Time Lord bit the dust and was sold to Jen from Jesus Jones for £500 in 1990, and his current whereabouts are unknown, possibly scrapped. There are some people that claim there is more than one Ford Time Lord. That is probably accurate, because I think KLF got through 3 of them. You can tell the difference by looking at the various differences between the vehicles, including in the film The White Room. Ford Time Lord gets painted white, and so there you are. This is hilarious and baffling at the same time. It's like somebody decided that they were going to take the theme from Doctor Who, put on the glam rock stop of the Glitter Band's Rock and Roll, add some techno to it, and then see if they could create the most annoying #1 ever. It spawned a book, The Manual, by the KLF, How to Have a #1 the Easy Way, which if you followed the instructions to the letter and didn't get a #1, the band would refund you the cost of the book. I do believe, oh sorry, that's the police. I do believe that Doctor in the TARDIS, if you followed the instructions from the manual, was followed by Edelweiss, who did have a big hit with the track Bring Me Edelweiss. I could be wrong. I could be right. I can't remember, because again, I don't know what's coming out of this bag until I look at it. I'm going completely on the fly about any object that there is. And I don't know if you, the viewers, like these or not. I'm not sure. If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know. I can do less of them. I can do more of them. The other thing with Doctor in the TARDIS is 12-inch remix does have guest vocals by Gary Glitter, a convicted paedophile, and oh god, that's awful. I am really ashamed that his taint touches this record. There's not much I can do about that. So I never actually voluntarily listened to Doctor in the TARDIS for fun. It's more a record that I've got as part of my history that I don't pay much attention to these days. But there you are. The idea of Ford Time Lord, a car that's made a record, is wonderful. The song itself divorced from the historical knowledge of who perhaps vocals on some remixes of the track. It's quite fun. So therefore, if you're going to listen to it, go for the B-side that is instrumental and therefore free from the taint. So that is your random record Russian roulette. As per my normal rules, a CD, a DVD, a book, a 12-inch, a 7-inch, and a Blu-ray. So thank you very much for watching, and see you all again sometime soon. All right, adios amigos. Bye.